So today is the anticipated, much anticipated, I'll say, day of the Yaira release from the Ripperverse comics. And I want to make, I don't want to make predictions, but I want to say what I think is going to happen. Now, the comic book company, the Ripperverse, has made quite an impact in its initial foray into comic books with ISOM number one, ISOM number two, and Alpha Core. To me, really good books. Alpha Core being the shining book out of all of them, but ISOM 1 and 2 definitely being good offerings from somebody who has never written a comic book, just getting into the foray. Now, Yaira, Deborah Carita is the artist, the Saska sisters writing the story. I did not know Deborah Carita before being mentioned by the Ripperverse. So I'm not going to make it seem like, oh, I've always known she was a great artist. But when I went to look at her work after she was mentioned, I'm like, yo, this woman right here is an insanely good comic book artist. Like this is exciting. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Yaira was one of the first books when ISOM number one was released, or one of the first characters that people were asking many questions about, like, yo, who's this Yaira character? Are we gonna see more of Yaira? So now we're getting a Yaira book. Here's what I think is gonna happen. The Ripperverse has made an impact, as I said, sold millions of dollars worth of books on all three campaigns so far. I think they're getting into a stride now where they've made a good enough impact that they're now making deals with the different companies they're working with. So I think they may be able to get their books printed at a lower rate, which means they don't cost as much. So I think Yaira is going to be a much cheaper book than the other Ripperverse books, and thus may bring in less money, but not because it's going to sell less books. Now, here's would be the kicker. If more people get in because the books are cheaper and this book makes even more than the other three books, that would be crazy. And I think that's a possibility. I do think no matter what the case, I do believe this will be at a bare minimum $1 million campaign. I just really think it will be. I'm not sure unless something goes sideways or there's a book people are just not generally interested in. I think most of the Ripperverse books will either breach or approach that $1 million range. That's my prediction. I'm excited to see what the book is going to do. I'm excited in general to hopefully get the book in my hands and read it and look through some of the art and see the direction that the Ripperverse is going in with all of these stories and different characters that seem to weave a cohesive web of storytelling across a comic book universe. Very exciting times.